Cut the dang music. What's up, everybody? Hope you're great. Happy Saturday. I slept probably about 7 hours last night. You know, I've been going to bed earlier. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Actually, not all that much earlier, but waking up at like 6. And that's actually a great place. Like this morning, I was driving, running errands, and I was thinking, like, this is cool. It's 7:15. The sun's out. It's light outside. The stores are open. So this is great. But I used to wake up at 5:15. I'd be at the gym by 5:45. Then I'd be like at 6:30, waiting outside at the coffee places for them to open, because I didn't want to go to fucking Dunkin' Donuts and get coffee. So it was dark outside if it was winter or not summer. So it was like, it was too early. Waking up at 6:15, it's kind of perfect, especially if you want to get a jump on the day, man. I'd done a lot of shit up until now, 10:21 a.m. I've been up since 6. Feel great. Going to the gym after this. Hope you guys are great. All right, before we get into questions, and those of you that are jumping in here now, just post your questions. We'll get to them. We'll start the discussion. Let's talk about 200 milligrams again. 200 milligrams a week. Time and time again, I'm seeing that people that are trying to orchestrate TRT protocols that are in line with newer age logic have particularly sexual dysfunction. And finally, when they get fed up and try to just go back to what we used to do with TRT. Now, what we used to do is 400 milligrams every 2 weeks. And by the way, that works for people too. But the more modern version of that, which still has some of those more legacy characteristics, is the 200 milligram once a week injection. And people find that when they do that, they get their libido and their erections right back rather quickly. And interestingly, on days 1 through 3, their total testosterone is peaking super high. The estrogen is peaking. And then everything pretty much rapidly starts to trough while still keeping them physiologic. So the estrogen gets to go down to 25 to 35, and sit there for the latter days while you still have a lot of DHT and a lot of androgens. And it just creates a balance in people that allows them to, first of all, have a continuous libido, continuous erections. They're far more anabolic. So everything about TRT they're getting. Obviously, there's downsides to this, and that people will respond in unfavorable ways to 200 milligrams at once, specifically related to lipids, right? And hematocrit. So, if you find that works for you, you got to do your cardio. You have to eat well to manage your lipids, and maybe take some tocotrienols otherwise, and go donate blood every 3 months or something. It's really not like some arduous process. It's like 30 minutes, if that. You're just sitting there getting pints of blood taken out of your body. They give you a little apple juice, watch you after, make sure you don't pass out, and things are good. So it's just something to keep in mind. Now, I also want to make clear, 200 milligrams a week is not for everybody. It's not. I'm not on 200. I'm on 175 basically right now, and a base level of HCG, and that's good for me. I'm doing every other day injections, and I get quite a bolus of testosterone at once. It just lands me in the place because I'm a low normal aromatizer where the ratios work. Now, might I pin 250 at once and wait a week and pin? Who knows? I mean, the whole purpose of me moving back to Cypionate was just to try to get my physique for the summer in a better place and to facilitate more anabolism I wasn't really getting on cream. So who knows what the hell's to come? But 200 isn't for everyone. But it just might be, and usually is, for the people that are just struggling on the more modern TRT style protocols, where something's wrong. The libido's not there. The erections are not there. Something's fucking off. Your test is at 1,000, but something's off. Might just need to peak to 1,600 and trough at 800. Please keep that in mind, brothers. Also, down in the description is a code for 40% off all digital products, so please keep that in mind. All right, Silver Shroud. Hey, Ryan. Hope life is super high test as always. What's the best natural AI for us that are still natty? There you're looking at zinc is honestly the most effective thing that I think you could take as a supplement that is considered natural that reduces estradiol synthesis. Yeah, zinc. Even guys, you should be careful though, because man, if you get a zinc picolinate supplement and you start dosing 50 milligrams a day, you're probably going to crush your estrogen. You're probably just going to crush it. Wow. Zinc itself just controls aromatase expression to some degree. Hard to say if it's an actual AI. I think the literature shows us that it could be, but that research is not conclusive by any means. But it does lower estrogen. So as a natty, I mean, you might be looking at running 15, 20 milligrams a day. You have to see what it does to your estradiol, you know. Maybe you could tolerate 25, 30 milligrams a day. I wouldn't push it past that without testing before and after and seeing where it goes. Other than that, man, listen, diendyl methane is not an aromatase inhibitor. It doesn't even really lower estradiol itself. It just metabolizes other estradiol into other estrogens. And so, you know, in the prostate, it's an androgen receptor antagonist. That doesn't mean it is elsewhere, but anything that blocks the androgen receptor anywhere is not something I would really want to mess with. It has to be looked into further to determine what other androgen receptor activity does it have. That's about it, man. Hunting Montana. Hey, man, using your video on using a natural helped me a ton. Even 140 milligrams a week pushed me to 75 estradiol. Hoping to drop another 30 pounds, see if the conversion gets better. I'll titrate up to 200. Yeah, once you do the conversion, will ultimately be better. I mean, you should, yeah. If you're 30 pounds over where you should be, then yes, you're going to convert more test to estrogen, almost definitely. Not by a super significant amount, but, you know, enough for it to be troublesome. And you don't want that. You want your body to just, you know, convert it in a low enough frequency where it just doesn't make the ratios all fucked up, man. And break your Johnson, because that's what it does. You know, the ratios get skewed, your Johnson breaks. I mean, that's just it. So, yeah, I mean, that video was all about breaking down. It was first, the way to use anastrozole is to probe what it does to your estradiol before even deciding on a dose. And starting at the lowest dose possible, running the estradiol ultrasensitive before you take it, then running the estradiol ultrasensitive again at day 2.5 or 3, where you can see the most reduced estrogen. What exactly does it do? And then you let it go and you run the estrogen again at day 8 or 9, 7, 8, 9, when it's like fully back. So you can see, okay, now all you're doing is just probing what may work. So you can determine what the dose and frequency will be for you. You got to witness, okay, 0.012 or 0.125 milligrams in estradiol took my estradiol from 55 to 43. And then it rebounded to 49. That would mean you probably should dose it slightly higher, 0.1 or 0.20 every 12 days or something. You know, you've got to approach an anastrozole from an engineer's perspective, or it's going to fuck you. It will take the estrogen and give you sexual dysfunction and all this other stuff. Big Z Baller. It's a big super chat. Thank you, brother. 105 of cypionate a week, split 30 milligrams every day. Okay, that's not bad. E2 there is too high for that dose for sure. I mean, mine was exactly 42 at 50 milligrams every other day with 100 IU of HCG. Again, I'm a normal aromatizer, low normal, so you don't look by your picture there like you've got a lot of body fat, man. So I'm not really sure why that's happening. This is 48 hours after injection. So yeah, I mean, you're peaking on everything higher than that. Libido and EQ is 6 to 7 out of 10. Not bad. Not bad. I bet Cialis would take at least the erections to 10, but the libido you definitely need. See, I'm surprised that you wouldn't have strong libido there. If there's no HCG in the protocol, that's probably why. When my protocol in the past through experimentation has been strictly test dominated, my libido wasn't great. Yeah. Not unless it was a lot of testosterone at once and a good peak and trough. The fail safe at this point, you're already really close to the fail safe. So, to be honest, I don't know that that's going to be the best. If anything, what I would probably try to do is reduce that 30 to like 25 every other day. The E2 on trough probably be about 37, and just see if that makes things better. If it doesn't, what you should probably do is fine, keep the dose the same, but do like, 252 milligram injections every 3.5 days. Yeah, because then you get a nice peak and a nice trough. Alternatively, if your body can tolerate it, meaning on the trough you don't start feeling hypogonadal and tired and lethargic, might just want to pin that whole 105 at once and give it 5 to 7 days. That would be the routes of action, man, that I would take if I were you. Thanks for the super chat, brother. Ray Hal, hey, Ryan, how old are you? Old am I? 42. What's the plan when you hit 50, 60 TRT medication? I'll be on TRT forever. Regarding medication, I don't really take a whole lot. I don't take, at the moment, any medication besides TRT. I'll be on TRT, HCG, presumably for the rest of my life. And, the goal really is to maintain the ability to do cardio at the gym. I run 15 to 20 minutes a day on the treadmill pretty much every day. Maintain that ability so that I can maintain my health, so that when I'm 60, I'm not needing medications. I don't have lipid problems. I don't have cardiac problems or otherwise problems. I don't drink a ton. I even drink less these days than I have in the last year and some change. So that really doesn't need to be managed all that much. I mean, there's nicotine intake that I should definitely need to reduce over time. I don't really think that's good, all that vasoconstriction. Otherwise, I plan to not be on medication, but TRT at the time. I mean, that's essentially all that I plan to do. I plan to keep my fucking body in shape and keep my health in order and keep jogging, and eating healthy food. That's pretty much it. By then, I'll be a liquid millionaire, and I'll be, traveling around and doing a lot of fun things. And, I don't know where my life will actually be where I'll be located at that point. I love Pittsburgh for a variety of reasons, but I hate the winters and the city itself. The people here aren't my vibe, but not many people are, man. I'm like a fringe entrepreneur that it thinks very differently than most people, so I have a hard time even relating to folks. But for you, man, do the cardio, eat well. Health is paramount. Above 40, health is paramount, especially if you're pushing 50. You're 52 right now. That is the moment. I had done some work for a guy a long time ago that was in his late 50s, was a smoker prior to just waking up one day with his heart racing, generally feeling like shit, and decided, I'm going to fucking kill myself by 65, 70 if I keep doing this. Quit smoking, got on an absolute insane health kick, started fucking just taking all the, all the supplements known to man. And now the dude in his late 50s, early 60s just looks glowing. He looks like a young person. That's where we should be. After 5 years of suffering, 300 in test E. This is interesting. 5 years of suffering from post-finasteride syndrome, 300 milligrams test E, and 300 milligrams of Masteron, cured it in 10 weeks. Assuming everything stays in check. So that's a 1-1 ratio there. And that's not common in people to tolerate, but it is in PFS people who over-aromatize. So this is a good thing, brother. Right? These are the kinds of things. Like, I've got a guy with PFS that's not on 300 test E. It's 250. Every other day injections. Every other day a 0.125 of anastrozole and 200 IU-HCG a day. Little convoluted, right? But he's dialed in, man. Doesn't have PFS. Dick works, libido works, all that stuff. So this is good to hear. If it's working for you, just manage your lipids if you have to, and donate blood if your hematocrit gets too high. You need to have a happy life with sexual function. And if you were devoid of it for so long with PFS and you found something, just stick with it, man. Go to the UGLs, load up on Masteron, make sure you have it. Sometimes people just need shit they can't get here in the States. It's the bottom fucking line. It's your quality of life. I'm happy for you, man. Missing gut microbes cause issues dialing in TRT, and that could cause anhedonia. No, that is PSSD folklore. And I think you're one of those people that has that. You need to, the best piece of advice that I can give you is to give no attention to the wild theories out there, none of which can be actually proven and none of which have anything to do with your condition. Yeah, it's at this point, you just need the right sex hormone profile. That's it. And you should think of it like, I don't have PSSD. I now just need to optimize hormones and get all those things in check. For a guy like you, I mean, think about the PFS guy. Look at his protocol. Sometimes these protocols work. Might need to go a little extreme. Sorry, guys. Hold on. I'll explain. There it is. I have a canker sore on the back left part of my gum. It's actually a mandibular tori, which is growth of the bone. I don't know how the fuck that happened. But there's a ulcerated sore on the most pointed edge of it. So I've got these patches on it so that it can actually heal. And the patch just moved and I had to take it out of my mouth. Okay. So no, this is just, it's the same concept as like when they say that you've got like postsynaptic serotonin 5-HT1A receptor expression problems. Nah, it's not. Bet if you'd measure that, there'd be nothing wrong up there. The anhedonia is largely lack of dopamine driven, which you can fix with the right TRT protocol. Yeah, I bet with the anhedonia, like if you had taken some mucuna purines, you might get alleviation from it, which should tell you that. Same thing with taking PT141, you'd get alleviation, so it at least tell you that. But enough test, and the brain dopamine should increase. Silver Shroud, oddly enough, I take 15 milligrams zinc a day in my multi, and according to Blogger, doesn't reduce my estradiol much. Now, what does seem to is selenium? Yeah, selenium does. I think it's just via optimizing thyroid hormones. Selenium improves your conversion of T4 to free T3, I believe. Is it? And those thyroid hormones can control aromatase expression to some extent. Yeah. If you dosed 50 of zinc, you would reduce it though. Any idea what the equivalent would be of 200 milligrams of the 100 milligram cream twice a day in Cypionate? Not really. No, because I mean, it's the 100 milligram cream is 25 per click. If you were doing that per day, it'd be 50 milligrams Cypionate per day, but the conversion's different, right? Cypionate sticks around longer, peaks way differently. The kinetics are different. So it's not an equivalent dose. Frankly, what it would be is like 15 to 20 milligrams a day of Cypionate. That's probably what it would be. Prince Gold Soul. I'm coming a little late and I'll go back to and listen, but did you talk about using PT141? Yeah, on a recent video in the context of the best TRT add-ons, I rated it a 3 of 10 because PT141 causes your brain to release dopamine at a high level in the hypothalamus. That's its main mechanism, but it doesn't stay doing that. So it's inconsistent, number one. Number two, the onset time is arbitrary. It could onset in 3 hours or it could onset in 7 hours. And you never really know. Number three, it gives you nausea most of the time because it's a lot of dopamine that gets fired. And that's a pretty shitty side effect. So if you're trying to time it for sex, it's pretty hard to gauge. I think it's a 3 of 10. I've been drinking naked juice. I've drank that over the years. It's filled with sugar, but I'm going to the gym, so I need that. And it's a lot of antioxidants, man. Those are the things I want to do to live longer. Mike, see, the problem I have every time I raise a dose of TRT, I wind up getting more anxious than I usually do. Yeah, I mean, yes, that you're in a little bit of a dilemma. So you're gonna have to figure that out. Whether you have to take a mild GABAergic or maybe glycine to counter that, or do some cardio, like the cardio regulates GABAergic transmission to an extent. So that might be useful. At the same time, I mean, what you were on an SRI. So are you on any other psychiatric drugs? And if not, you were on a psychotropic psychiatric drug, and that's going to mess with neurochemistry in a way which makes things difficult down the line. The only thing I could say is stick with it. Recognize that anxiety on TRT, whether you have PSSD or not, always goes away. Always in time, if you can just hang through it. Remember, all of us that are on TRT and have been for years, when we started, there were points at which we experienced all of that. Yeah, I remember being like, I was on 50 milligrams every other day. This is way early. No HCG. Now I'm on that plus HCG. I sleep great. I feel great. I'm going to run every day and all this other stuff. But I had actual insomnia till about 12:30, 1 a.m. And I'd lay in bed at 10:30 trying to go to sleep. Like, I fucking can't fall asleep. I can't fucking fall asleep. I'd have anxiousness and nervousness around women, which is something I generally don't have. It went away. You know, it went away. Your body just has to get used to it, man. If that all happened for me at 50 milligrams every other day, and then I eventually got used to it and then could tolerate 500 a week last summer on a cycle, tells you something, man. Shit goes away. Let's talk about quality of morning wood on TRT. Tell us what it disappearing quickly or after a piss versus surviving a piss and staying rock hard. I mean, mine rarely survives a piss. Yeah, you shouldn't use that as a marker of success for morning wood. Mine's mostly just nocturnals happening in the middle of the night, and then not every day, but most days in the morning, I'll just wake up, that way. But then right away, I think I start focusing on the day. So it's kind of hard to keep erection when you're focusing on work and business and whatever else you might have to do. But generally, I mean, on TRT at least, because this is different than being a natty, the extremely hard stay erection morning wood is driven by high DHT with low estradiol. That's pretty much it. Yeah, high DHT with like a low-ish estradiol, but not too low estradiol, because then you won't get morning wood. Hey, brother, does PT141 help in PFS while recovering? No. Were you just here for a little bit? Well, we just discussed PT141 temporarily increases dopamine output in the hypothalamus. It doesn't consistently do it. It eventually loses its effect because the brain regulates that response. This is not a recovery compound. How? You have to think about what you're asking. What is it recovering? In any bit of the mechanisms of PT141, is there permanent changing of anything? No. So therefore, it could not technically recover anything. It doesn't help in recovering PFS. I wouldn't even have it in a PFS protocol. I'd have test, maybe master on, like, another guy said, primobolan, an aromatase inhibitor, maybe just test itself, test plus HCG. Those are the kind of things. Fabio, 2 clicks, and I'm giving 1330 total T75E2. Yeah, your estradiol is far too high for that total test. Or a little bit too high, I should say. Yeah, how will I make a hybrid protocol with daily dosing? Brother, I can't really answer that question because I don't think you should do that. I think you should stick with one. The only reason you bring in a hybrid protocol is if you've got to be on a low enough dose of cypionate because you just cannot tolerate above 25, 30 estradiol. But on that low dose of cypionate, you're not getting enough DHT. So you put a pump of cream on the morning, that covers the DHT. And there are other reasons for hybrids, but that's generally it. 2 clicks of what cream, though? I mean, you got to be specific about the concentration, or I really can't help you. What's up, brother? Do you think the uridine stack for the old Cortex formulation is a good nootropic stack? Yes. Is there anything you change about it? I'd add a B complex to it. You need uridine depletes folate. So you don't really want to do that. Taking a B complex with it and DHA, docosahexaenoic acid, the fatty acid in fish oil, is the way that you spawn new neurons. You induce neurogenesis. That's being studied for Alzheimer's. It's the Suvinade drink in Australia. I have to try 2 different 20% cream and don't feel a difference. 4 clicks twice a day? ? You didn't ask a question. C. Greenwell, thanks for the super chat. Brother, tried prop every day at various doses and can never get dialed in. Now at 100 milligrams of cypionate 2x weekly and it's better. What could I do for a ravenous libido? Would love to go back to prop or TPP. Yeah, maybe not practical for you. First of all, is your 100 milligrams total? Just 50 and 50? Try to break it down like that, guys, so that I understand. It looks like it's 100 milligrams total, and you're just splitting it up 2 times a week. Your libido is probably not great because you don't have any HCG. If you're too androgenic and not enough of the neurosteroid, estrogen signaling that comes from HCG, your libido is going to be pretty crappy. Yeah, I'm considering raising my HCG dose a little bit, because although my libido is fucking high, there are moments where I just feel like I appreciate when it's bothering me. And it does bother me, especially in the morning. It doesn't bother me all day. So maybe HCG might be a good addition to your protocol in very low doses, so you don't, take your estrogen over the range. But again, I have dropped down to 140 a week and killed all HCG. This was years back. And I gave it a good enough run and took meticulous fucking notes on my laptop. And my libido just went away, and estrogen was 27, 29, something like that. So bloods looked fine. It's just I didn't have the neurosteroidal, gonadal hormone signaling environment and some of the estradiol, which would have helped libido. So if I were you, I'd probably, you could do 2 things. Add some HCG, or you increase the total weekly dose, 130, 140. You do 70 at a time instead of 50. I bet the libido will come back, or it'll be ravenous. Mike said last psychiatric drug I did wasn't long-term, was Adderall. I mean, Adderall can cause anhedonia too. Yeah. My anxiety system's doing crazy. BMI is 29. So yeah, I'm so stupid when it comes to BMI that I don't even know what that means. I don't know what 29 body mass index actually is. Yeah, that's the happy stack essentially, right? But they're getting that from Suvinade. Yeah. Oh, so C. Greenwell's actually on 200 milligrams total here. Your libido is not great. Same thing applies, but it's like, where are your bloods going? These are the kind of situations, like, I appreciate that you want my help on this, but if I don't know where your estradiol is going, how can I answer that? How can I help you, man? I really can't help you, because all that shit matters, and that's what you've got to look at too. Where is the estrogen going at, in the middle of the injection period? If you're doing twice a week, you really don't trough all that much, but at like day 2.5 or day 3, right before you're about to inject, day 3.5, measure the estradiol, see where it's going. Angry Lion, why are you promoting HCG so heavily? I'm not. How does it play into libido when it is to help keep the size of the testes? It's not to help the size of the testes. That's not what it's for. That's one of the things that it does. Listen, the testicular microhormone environment drives a great degree of your sexual function, mainly by facilitating the production of brain steroids that modulate libido in the limbic system. At the same time, you have a load of 5-alpha reductase enzymes in the testes, in the penis, in the seminal vesicles, which produce your semen. And killing that conversion by atrophying the testicles, keeping them dead, is a terrible idea. You are removing a hormone environment that is meant to be in place. The testicles don't, their whole purpose is not solely to produce testosterone, right? It's a whole microenvironment of hormones that maintain your sexual function, your semen quality, your motility, your fertility, and neurosteroidal activity. This all contributes to libido very fucking heavily. At the same time, if you just use test alone, you'll have many different protocols in which you're just too androgenically dominant and you don't have enough of that neurosteroidal estrogenic effect, which HCG can deliver, and you'll have no libido. That's why I'm not promoting it. There's no promotion of HCG. I don't sell HCG, and I don't sell any compounds. It's about recognizing what's right and giving good advice, what works for people and giving good advice. I'm talking about a handful of people over thousands of clients, see people that do well without HCG. How's it, Tyler? This is a guy, I think, on 300 milligrams Test E and 300 milligrams of Masteron and has post-finasteride syndrome. Before using Masteron, I did Test E, 150 split Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and 50 of Proviron. Helped a lot with PFS recovery. But the test at 300 and the mass at 300 is just taking the symptoms away. I feel normal and horny. Hey, that's how it's supposed to be, brother. That's how it's supposed to be, my brother. I'm glad for you, dude. I'm glad for you. Very happy for you, man. Makes me happy seeing PFS people recover. Yeah, my guy that's my most recent PFS guy that's recovered, I'm just happy that he's doing well now. Because it actually took us a while. It took us quite a while to get that right. Because you got to try a laundry list of things. You don't know how people are going to respond. And these are the kinds of protocols, though. 300 Test E, 300 Masteron that end up working for people. Yeah, brother, you cut some weight. Most doctors don't prescribe HCG because of the cost. Yeah, you go to a clinic or go to UGL. What's the difference between MCT and grapeseed? MCT tends to make, I think, the ester hydrolyze or metabolize faster. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the main differences. People claim that they have sensitivities to cottonseed and grapeseed and stuff. I don't really know the mechanism for that. Maybe some inflammatory response. Toninkilov. Hey, brother. Been trying to dial in. Still can't. No sex drive. Driving me nuts. Moving 160 prop, 1020 pre-workout Anavar. HCG doesn't work. 58 of Masteron. Too convoluted, bro. I mean, 160 a prop, what? A week? You got to be more specific. How can I help you if you're not telling me what frequency you're going to dose the prop at? And what HCG you potentially want. I like that you want to dose. I can't just look at this and go, that'll work or that won't work. And if it doesn't, move to 50-80 Masteron. Brother, you've got to get more specific. You can't dial in because you're not being clear. First of all, where can't you dial in? With what? Cypionate? What's your dose? What's your frequency? Where's estrogen at the peak and trough? Where's total T free T at the peak and trough? You need to know all these things. And if you want my help, you need to include those things. I can't look at this and tell you what to do. I have no information. I have you're frustrated because you can't dial in on question mark ester. What ester? At what dose? At what frequency? You think about moving to 160 a prop. Got it. 160 a week of test propionate. What frequency? I cannot help you, bro. Another biohacker on here named Eamon Psych claims using topical DHT creates a positive feedback loop and upregulates DHT for him with minimal if any suppression of endogenous T. Possible. Yeah, I mean, possible. Look, remember, Proviron is used as for hypogonadal men in different countries. I studied this some time ago, and DHT itself can have some positive upregulatory effects at the testicles, but it's still largely going to shut you down. And DHT by itself is rarely a good move because it's so counter to estradiol. This biohacker guy sounds like a classical biohacker who's into like individual compounds and doesn't think about the entirety of the system. I don't see that working for anybody. Now, if you take a natty and you take ultra low dose DHT, like maybe a milligram every 3 days transcrotally, then potentially that could provide some benefits without really disturbing the homeostasis of the gonadotropins and the Leydig cells. But this is uncharted territory, bro. It's not something that's very common. Angry Lion's total T is 707, free is 213, estradiol 72. I dose 200 milligrams every other day. Any feedback? No, I don't have any feedback. What do you mean? 200 milligrams every other day or 200 milligrams a week split up into every other day injections? Please specify. Super chat it if you need me to look at it. Matthew, I find that no matter how much muscle I gain on cycle or how low my body fat goes, my true TRT dose with insane libido and no AI never changes. 130 is my sweet spot. Interesting stuff. So are you saying that when you go on cycle, you can't dial in the libido? Is that what you're saying? And that no matter what your sweet spot is there? Yeah, some people do generally have like a listen, when I was on cycle at 560 a week, I dialed in my libido and erections, but they weren't perfect. And they weren't like, my libido wasn't particularly that high because, you know, I had to control the estrogen in order for my dick to work. And it's like, I could get it close some days, but it really wasn't my concern. As long as my dick worked, that's all that mattered to me. As long as it worked. You know, if I wasn't insatiable, I didn't really care about that. But some people are like that, man. You know, it's just, it could have been perfected, but for me, I was getting the anabolism. My shit worked for sex. That's all I really cared about. That's all I cared about. And I was only running it for a total of 3 months and then sports TRT for a month thereafter and then cycled down to TRT. It wasn't even a long cycle, you know, and I maintained a good bit of that mass that you can't really fucking see because I'm just not in shape. I'm not lean at the moment. And I had a neck injury, which prevents me from doing a lot of workouts. That's almost better. Is delayed refractory periods a frequent symptom of PFS? Yeah, but you ought to look at your prolactin and see if prolactin's high, because that's a symptom of that. Matthew, I can dial in libido in high doses, but the protocol gets convoluted and it gets old after a while. Nothing beats true TRT with a little protocol manipulation. Yeah, sure. Again, that's what I mean. I mean, on the higher doses, you got to add shit for it to work. You know, you have to now manufacture the ratios and get everything functioning. And it can be a pain in the ass. You know, it took me several iterations of Aromacin to dial in my dose on 560 at test. And, you know, those iterations, they suck. You know, I've been through it before with AIs and I kind of know the process. And it's just, you know, it sucks when you're trying to be patient until you figure out the right dose and you just can't change anything. You can't make haphazard rapid changes because you'll never know what works. I gotta let things stabilize and shit. But people are different, man. A lot of folks will go on mild cycles like 300 to 350. They don't manage estrogen at all. Their fucking libido and erections are great, like better than ever. You know, it's just, I mean, I'm not one of those people, but it'd be nice to be. Thanks, brother, for the knowledge. I managed to resurrect the libido with help from your videos and questions on live. Great. Just trying to bring estradiol down a tiny bit. Hey, if your libido's back and erections are working, I really wouldn't touch it if I were you. Yeah. If you need to touch it, yeah, just like, I forget the context here, but if you're natty, low dose zinc or a little more zinc than you've been to 50 or so, but you just got to be real fucking careful. Best thing I can tell you is, you know, if everything works right now, I would probably leave it alone. Right? Because if you have no symptoms or no weird shit going on due to your idea that you've got elevated estradiol, then there's no reason to do anything about it. You know, no reason to really do anything about it. Like if I had killer erections and godlike libido at 75 estradiol, I probably wouldn't do anything about it. You know, the literature's so weird on estradiol. It's cardioprotective and helpful in all these areas, but there's a very strong correlation between stroke and MIs and elevated estradiol, serum estradiol in men. I don't know why the pro-estrogen camps never elucidate this. You can't just look at one side of the literature. That's how you know I'm going to be real abrasive right now. That's how you know they're full of shit, because they don't look at the other side. I don't respect you if you don't look at both sides. I'll look at everything. I have no dog in the fight. I have no bias. I don't give a fuck. I care about what works. You know, it's just, you guys know what I mean about those guys. And we'll get to Dr. Keith Nichols's thing. It's just, I've got a lot going on in my life right now for me to even focus on that, but We'll get to all that. Any big weekend plans outside of work? Not really. No, I'm kind of taking it easy. Yeah, I made a ton of money from the casinos in the last 2 weeks, and then I had a bad session and lost some of it. And whenever that happens, the number one priority is preserving the bankroll, right? Preserving the money that you've set aside to go in my case, advantage play, or in the case of a professional blackjack player, go and play against the house in blackjack. It's about preserving the bankroll. So for me, like I'd made about $20,000 in a week and a half, and then scaled that up to 30. And that scaling up to 30 was with a little more riskier bets, just a little more riskier shit. And that's the kind of thing that over time, the reason I'm positive on every casino but Borgata beat me for fucking 6, and I still haven't even opened their app after that day, is because I generally, if I'm up and do well and then lose a little, I need to take a break. Like I need to be very conservative thereafter. So I probably won't be, I might go to a few casinos just to be there because there's people there that I know and the environment's fun, and maybe there'll be some advantage plays. But I'm generally kind of just conservatively playing on the web, at the moment. Like I made $1,000 just the other night, and it was the only opportunities that were available. Sometimes there's not opportunities. Otherwise, it's going to be 70 degrees today. I want to go to the gym, but I might go run in Pittsburgh for 20 minutes, just run in the city after this live stream. Opinion on DIM for not lowering E2 but lessening E2's negative sexual side effects. Generally not helpful. Generally speaking, what's the best TRT minimum effective dose or maximum tolerable dose? It's not a dumb question. The minimum effective dose differs because some people take 100 a week and they're doing like every other day injections, and their test is at 500, 600, which is pretty crappy for TRT. I mean, he's, a natty at that point. Maximum tolerable, like 250 to 300. 250 to 300. And it's like at 300, you probably be needing to donate some blood. Just the crit's going to go high. And you probably should donate blood or drink a ton of water and do cardio to get it under control. Lipids might get skewed. It's just that, there's studies showing men can tolerate 600 milligrams of test with no real serious adverse effects. But over time, they're going to have elevated hematocrit, lipid problems, and shit like that. Some of them, at least. So 600 isn't the answer. I've seen people as low as 70 to 80 milligrams a week, but they're peaking at like 900 on that. So it's not really a low dose for them. That's the bottom line. Angry Lion, thanks for the super chat. Brother, you're the only one I've listened to that has the knowledge about HGG. Secondly, I was wondering if my numbers look abnormal. I inject every other day, total dose 20 milligrams cypionate or 200 milligrams cypionate per week, and use no AI. I don't see your numbers, brother. I don't see where your numbers are, dude. What numbers? I mean, if you're going to type them, why didn't you just super chat them, bro? I don't get it. Boys, 40% off right now. Mastering Libido and Erections on TRT. This is a digital playbook. You can download it instantly and get protocols and logic to dial in TRT for sexual function for every ester, cream, prop, enanthate, cypionate. It's all in there. It's down in the description of this video. Source list, vetted list of anything you can think of, 40% off. Code is down in the description of this video. Mastering Test Cream for Libido and Erections. I created an entire instructional video course on how to use that stuff. It's 40% off. It's down in the description. Mastering Test Cypionate, same thing. Video course. Breaks down Libido and Erections on Cypionate, 40% off. It's down in the description. I am going to open coaching back up. I needed to kill it for the last month and a half because I booked a lot of clients in April. And I just couldn't keep it on the website. But once it opens up, we're going to run another intake discount. And it's probably going to be something like 50% off. So consider it when it comes up, those of you that are watching are interested in that. In the meantime, you can still book me for single session consults regarding fixing sexual function on TRT. All right, so we have numbers here. Just super chat it next time, man. On 200 milligrams a week, and you're doing every other day injections. So that's like 58 milligrams every other day, something like that. Total T 700, estradiol 72. Is this trough or peak? Secondly, no, that's very skewed. Yeah, I mean, if that's trough, it means you're not clearing estradiol fast enough. The test is going down as it should, but then your estrogen's still lagging behind and you're not clearing it. You might take a little bit of calcium D-glucarate to facilitate the clearance of estradiol from your body faster, and that might help you in this here situation. But I don't know if this is peak or trough or not. And no, those numbers look pretty bad, dude. That's just you're over aromatizing is what my assertion would be. You know, at 707 test, that estrogen should be far down there. Even if it lags behind, it should not be 72. It's far too high. Had you taken finasteride in your past or SSRI? That causes people to have skewed T to E ratios like this. So just might be something to consider. Regarding the weekend plans, God, I don't even know what else. I've been getting the urge to watch a good movie, and I would just do that literally in my bedroom on YouTube. Netflix maybe, but you can buy a lot of movies on YouTube, and that would be really fun. The last two good movies I saw were the final Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise and Weapons. So, like, whenever the prequel to Weapons, which is, I think, Aunt Gladys, comes out, I want to watch that. If finally they've made up their minds on a new James Bond, that first movie is going to be fucking killer. Can't wait. I wish it was Daniel Craig forever. I wish it was Daniel Craig, and people from the 80s wished it was Pierce Brosnan forever. But it just can't be. Oh, it needs to be Daniel Craig. Just one more, man, where he comes back. And fucking please, one more Mission Impossible, man. They can't, though. They closed it all out. They closed it out. Like, any other questions, boys? If you got them, ask them. Send them, brothers. Otherwise, yeah, my schedule after this is I'm going to hit the gym. I'm probably going to be playing a lot of Call of Duty later. BO7, Warzone mainly. I just literally before I got on the stream just crushed a lobby of fucking sweats. I don't two-box or any of that shit. I play keyboard and mouse. And these guys all have aim assist. They're all controller players of fucking aim assist. And I just dominated a bunch of controller playing, aim assist having, fake confidence weirdos. And it was glorious. To use the harder input and beat them. It's beautiful. Yeah, neck injury is good. It's the levator scapulae, largely fine now. Next to no pain, and I'm starting to be able to do the kinds of movements that injured it and not have pain, which was incline press. So things are heading in the right direction. But I have not pushed some of those movements at the gym, and my body is sort of suffering from as a result. I'm on a more anabolic dose of test, and I haven't really been able to use it, but I will. Clinic started offering DECA. I think, no, I've never used it. No, I think that, look, it causes sexual dysfunction in a percentage of men. Why use it? Why use it? Now, the reason for that is kind of unknown. Some people think it's prolactogenic. Literature shows it increases prolactin receptor expression or gene expression or something, which is terrible. And other people like Ryan Root suggest that it's because it doesn't aromatize estradiol and you end up just getting low estrogen-like symptoms if you're taking solely it and not enough test. And he claims that people that, take DECA but have enough tests and they don't have problems. I've not seen that because I don't have people taking DECA. So, frankly, Ryan would be more the person to pick their brain on about that. I personally think I don't have enough experience with it to know, but I am scared to death of anything that can cause sexual dysfunction, Wouldn't fucking, I wouldn't touch it unless I went and deep dive studied it and all this shit. And I don't even really see the need for me to use it right now. I'm very simple when it comes to that kind of shit. If I decide I want to go on a cycle again, it'll be 350 a test to start. Then I'll probably move it up to 500 and run that for as long as my body can handle it. And then cycle back down. Just test. Test is best, man. Test is usually enough. Do you need the shoulders looking like softballs, like sculpted softballs? No, you don't need the master on there for. I mean, the test is pretty good for providing all that. So that's essentially what I'd be doing. All right, brothers, I'm going to end the stream. Looks like the questions are getting scanned. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend. If it's nice where you are, try to get out and enjoy the fucking weather. I'll see you guys all this week with killer content. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Let's go. Probably taking an Atlantic City trip to hit the casinos down there and do some scouting and probably playing this coming weekend if it's nice. So I might be able to do a live stream Saturday, but who knows? Things could change. I don't really know if that's going to happen quite yet. There's things that have to line up in order for that to work, and I've got to line them up. Otherwise, kick ass, rock on, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Sleep good tonight, brothers. Don't drink a lot, man. All right? Fucking take it easy, dude. Have a threshold, bro. I just don't even feel good past a certain amount of anything, alcohol. And when I'm crossing the threshold, say I get a too strong margarita, I'll go to Rivers Casino sometimes and ask them for a Don Julio margarita, and they will put a double, and that's usually fine, but sometimes they just fucking pour it on there. I'm halfway through, I'm like, dude, this is going to make me fucking drunk, and I don't like it. I can't think straight when there's too much alcohol, so don't drink, all right? Shh. Take care of yourselves. All right, boys. Talk to you soon. Peace. What the fuck? Oh, you know what? Maybe it's this thing's actually getting. I think I need a new stand is what I need. Hey, get out of here. All right, come back. That's fine. Hey, no, get out of here, actually. That's all I got to say about that.